right, welcome to the Venus Flytrap podcast. My name is Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards, and I am your host. So, today, once again, we have another enlightening, entertaining, and empowering session here for you. We're going to be talking about the Venus Flytrap a little bit. And in the last session, excuse me, in the last session, we were talking about, who we really are. How do we rediscover who we really are? Um, and a little bit about sacred geometry, which we're going to go back into later. Today, we're going to stay a little bit more grounded, maybe a little bit anyway. We're going to use the backdrop of the Venus Flytrap book to talk about some things here that can help us to identify if perhaps we're in a toxic relationship, what we can learn from it so we can grow, expand, and become more, and begin to remember even more of who we really are. So let's get started.
A tailored suit in a London rain. He built an empire to mask the pain. A self-made man with a heart and heart, watching the world from a place apart. Then she walked in like a sudden blade, in the midnight heat where the shadows played. A fallen heiress with a rebel soul, ready to take back all control. She lived by no rules but her own desire, wrapping his life in a ring of fire. An international ghost of a golden age, stepping back onto the center stage. Oh, the Venus flytrap.
All right, so let's do it. Let's get started. So, Venus Flytrap, as I've been talking about recently, was a catalyst for an incredible journey home. What do I mean by that? Well, and I talked about this in the last podcast. We have to forget who we are in order to remember. We have to forget the things we know in order to remember more of who we really are. So we go on this journey of ups and downs, and sometimes we think that we should know better. I shouldn't have done that. And I thought that in this whole episode that I had with Tamaz, which turned out to be an incredible gift. It didn't feel like it at the time. So if you're in or going through a toxic relationship right now and it doesn't feel good, it's okay. It's normal. What we want to do though is to, number one, help you see that there are definite gifts in there. Number two, how to get out of it. And number three, never go back into it again or one again, right? But that's not going to happen until we get the gifts, get the understandings that we need to get from the experience. Because if we don't do that, you're just going to keep repeating the same pattern. I had that experience too for a long, long time, right? I was married 4 times. I mean, talk about being a slow learner, right? And I was repeating the same patterns over and over again. That I learned that in my childhood, right? That I was in a toxic environment in my home, and that's tough as a kid because there's nothing you can really do about it, right? It's like that's where you are. I mean, you could do what I did, and that's try and run away, but they usually catch you. I think they got me about 8 times. Eventually, I was able to get out of that. I burst free from it because the pain of being there was so tremendous for me. I'm not trying to say that I had a worse experience than you or anybody else, but you can't compare, right? It's what you're going through. And it's not like, we have a tremendous support network when we're a kid. It's not like you can go to school and at the break be going, hey, listen, guys, come here. Are you having problems at home? Are you having trauma like that? You're not going to say it. Why? Because you're ashamed. You don't want to talk about it. You think everybody else has got it great and you're the only one who's going through this suffering. So you don't want to feel like the odd person out or for have their sympathy or them feel sorry for you, right? So you just live with it and you push all the emotions down. What we don't know as children is those emotions are energy and they're caught up in the body if we don't release them. And that creates the pattern over and over and over again until we let it go. And the pressure to do that, the intensity of the experiences gets higher and higher and higher until one or two things is going to happen. You're going to go crazy, literally, or you're going to let this explosive energy out. And it doesn't always work out to be a positive experience as it happened with me, right? So when we go through these relationships that we think or are told are toxic, or what I call the Venus flytrap relationship, right? That's going to suck you in so strong. You're going to believe it's real. You're going to believe it's amazing. This person is the person you're meant to be with, and you're going to lose yourself in that very often. I know I did, right? I just gave myself away because this woman, Tamaz, was just so amazing in my eyes. She was so beautiful, so sexy, so much fun, so much adventure. She was wild and crazy, and I loved all those things about her, right? But at the same time, in order to keep her, I was giving myself away. And little by slow, I was getting weaker and tireder and more exhausted. I was literally losing my mind, which some people said I did, and I'm never going to go back. But the point is, it ended up being a lot of suffering, right? But suffering is a part of healing. Suffering is a part of growing. Suffering is a part of expanding and becoming more of who you really are. I know that sucks, but it's true. So we have to find the gift in the suffering, because if we don't heal these wounds, which they were when we were children, they were wounds, we're going to suffer for our entire lives. Once we can turn around and look at our life, look at ourselves, see that what was happening was a mirror for us to look into to see who we really are, or the things that we've missed, the things we've let go of, the things we've sacrificed to be with certain people, to live in a certain environment, to live in a community, to live in a world that's going to judge us. We're only experiencing a small fraction of our potential and who we really are. And we got to let it go. So relationships become the opportunity for us to have the most growth, right? We learn the most from relationships if we're prepared to learn from them and not be a victim to them, not to think they're happening to us, but to recognize that they're happening for us. And so for Tamaz and I, there were so many things that we need to work on, right? So she was from a background of tremendous wealth. Her father is a billionaire. So she lived a life of privilege, right? So whatever she wanted, she got. And so she grew up with this belief that I get whatever I want, that I am the person that deserves it, right? Which is kind of funny, but it's kind of admirable because you walk through life like she was a princess, which she was, right? But then she had to figure out a way to control the external world because she grew up in a controlling environment. And when you grow up in a controlling environment, the last thing you want is to be controlled. You become a rebel, right? But in order to have to in order for people not to control you, guess what you've got to be? You got to be controlling. I know. It's such a hypocritical thing, but it's true, right? So she was controlling. Now, I did not come from the kind of wealth that she did, right? I came from a background where you worked hard to get what you wanted, right? And you had to be focused and intense. And that was my belief. And it worked. I mean, I was very materialistically, financially successful. But in order to do that, I had to be controlling. I had to be the one in control, right? Because I was brought up in a very controlling environment, right? And so I had to make sure I wasn't controlled. So I became the one controlling. Yeah, I know. There you go. So that's why very often people who are controlling do not believe they're controlling. I'm not controlling. I just don't want to be controlled, right? Anyway, so that's exhausting. Controlling everything outside of yourself is freaking exhausting, right? And it's impossible. It's like this is going back a ways, right? There used to be a guy or people who used to do this thing where they would get these bamboo poles and spin them and put plates on the top and spin them and then get another one and do another one and do another one. And you have all these bamboo poles with plates on top spinning, and you have to just go around and touch a few here and there. But most of us have got like 400 of these things going on at the same time. What's going to happen? The plates are going to start crashing onto the floor and smashing, right? And that's what happens in people's lives. And then they become overwhelmed and usually they become sick, right? They get in hospital, they get liver disease, heart disease, brain disease, right? All these diseases that happen because of the stress of trying to control the external reality. Because the only thing you can really control is your wife. I'm kidding. The only thing you can really control is yourself, right? So I'm going to go back into the book a little bit. And I've just come out. Book 2 has just come out, right? So at the end of book 1, those who have not read book 1 yet, what have you been doing, right? But if you've not read it yet, you may want to realize this is a spoiler alert. Don't listen. Spoiler alert, don't listen if you don't want to know the end yet. But at the end of book one, we fall madly in love, right? And it's amazing. We've got this incredible new start ahead of us, right? And then at the beginning of book two, we're wallowing in this beautiful fantasy of being in love, right? And then I have to go on a trip, right? I have to go to do a speaking event. So Muz is not happy, right? She's like, look, we just got back together. Things are fantastic. Can you not just not go? Can you not cancel it? Well, I can't cancel it because I'd committed to it. There's like 300-400 people going to be at this event. The company that I speak for obviously has put a lot of money on the line for that and is expecting a lot of revenue to come in from this event. So I can't cancel. But you can't reason with Tamaz. It's like, listen, I want you to cancel it. I'm the most important person in your life. Cancel it. So things were not going well. So when I'm leaving at like, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning. And because she doesn't want to know, she turns her back on me. I come over and give her a kiss and she like spits it off and I put my hand in her hair. She makes it look like she's got filth in her hair and she's not happy, right? So then I have to leave. So I get to the airport and I'm going to check in and I give her the flight. I'm going to Baltimore. And she says, well, Mr. Evans, you're not booked on this flight. I said, what do you mean? I remember going online last night and, making sure I was booked to getting my ticket and everything. She said, well, you did, but this morning you canceled it. I knew right away, right? So she'd called the airline, pretended she was me, canceled my flight. Well, you know how nothing happens to you, everything happens for you? Yeah, but there are times in your life when you realize that is complete bullshit. This did happen to me, right? So I went into that mode. I went into victim mode. So just know that no matter whether you adopt that belief or you don't, you're going to get into victim mode at certain times because of the shock of the situation. The hope is that you're going to remember that it happened for you and figure out how. I wasn't at that place at that time. So I was angry, right? Because now I've got to rebook another flight. I'll lose my first class ticket, so and so. Okay, great. We're doing great here, right? So, and it's all because she didn't want me to go, which in a way, if you think about it, it's nice that she didn't want me to go because she's afraid to be abandoned, right? And so when I go on a trip, she's feeling abandoned. Maybe her reaction to it wasn't the best. Maybe her ability to understand wasn't the best. Her fear of abandonment outweighed everything. But as we're going to discover later, there's a reason for that, right? There is a reason why she had such an innate fear of abandonment. And I will get to that in another podcast. So now, finally, I get to the hotel, right? So I missed the flight. I had to wait 4 hours at the airport, get on another plane, sit in the middle row. The middle of the row. I get to the hotel. And then I'm like, okay, we're done with this now, right? Then I get a call from Ross, my butler. And he said, Stephen, I hate to tell you this. And just so you know, it happened before I realized she took the keys to the Bentley and she left. Now she's driving around in a Bentley GTC, Bentley convertible that's been done up to the nines, right? I don't know where she is. And I'm thinking about the scene from The Wolf on Wall Street where he drives his car home, but he thinks he got home perfectly safe and the car is just completely destroyed. I'm thinking that's how it might come back because she'll be doing drugs, she'll be drinking, she doesn't care about material things, she just uses them and throws them away. So I'm having all these conniptions, right? And then at about 1 o'clock in the morning, I get another call. And yeah, Stephen, she's just broke into the house. Because she had her own place. She used to stay with me a lot, but technically she wasn't living with me. She breaks into the house, and here's what had happened at the time this was going on. In the recent weeks before this, there'd been an issue with the police coming out slowly to a call. And so the community director called the police chief. She called the chief of police, right? And said, look, this isn't good enough. We pay all these taxes, and you guys should do better. So, of course, he's not happy getting chewed out, right? So now there's this break-in. It's an alarm going off in a house in this community. And so he thinks, okay, let me show you how hot and heavy we can get there, right? We can come out. So he sends out 6 squad cars, 2 SUVs, and 4 police dogs for an alarm. Right? It's a little bit, yeah, it's overkill, right? So anyway, they all get out there. And of course, it's the middle of the night. So the lights are all flashing. The whole neighborhood is lit up. The dogs are running through the gardens of the neighbors, barking, right? And all the lights of the houses are going, well, what the fuck is happening here, right? So she's meanwhile sitting in the Bentley with the roof down, the proverbial damsel in distress, right? So they call me up, the police call me, and by this time they probably got me on speed dial. If you've read book one, you know that we had all kinds of situations with the police. Anyway, they said, look, she's here. She just tried to break in the house. And I go, well, look, whatever happens, do not let her in the house because if you read the book, you know that there's going to be retribution for whatever's going on for the argument, whatever happens, she's gonna, yeah. So anyway, don't let her in, don't let her in. He called him back, gotta let her in. Talk to the police chief. He's just ready he was ready to burn the whole neighborhood down at this time, right? He goes, yeah, we gotta let her in. So now I'm 3 days doing this event, trying to keep it together, wondering what's going to happen to my house when I get back. I get back. Of course, she's gone. You don't know where. I did know. I did find out where she was later, and I'll tell you later where she was. It wasn't anyway. So now I get into the house and I look around and I look around. And I go, wow, everything's where it was. Everything looks fine, right? So I go in the kitchen and I put on the kettle. Make a cup of tea, of course, right? I leave the kitchen and I come back and the kettle isn't even boiling. I'm like, what's going on? So I go to the kettle and flip the switch and it's not working. I look behind and she snipped the cord to the kettle. Now, obviously, that's not the only cord she snipped, is it? Right? So I go around the house. Every electrical appliance in the house, she snipped the cord to. Son of a. So anyway, finally I sit down and I think, okay, this isn't over yet, is it? She didn't stop there. I know she didn't stop there, right? Now going back into book one, at the beginning, I explained that when I was a kid, I went through all these different traumas. One of the traumas that I went through as a child was going to school in clothes that were way too big for me. We didn't have a lot of money. My mom, bought me clothes that would last me. Well, they would have lasted my entire life, some of them, but she was meaning to do it for the next few years, right? That I would grow into. Smart. From a financial situation, from an emotional situation, that's not good, right? So I'm walking to school, and we used to have to walk 5 miles to school. Yeah, okay, not 5 miles, but it seemed like 5 miles in clothes that are too big for you, right? And in the winter, I wore this big, like Parker overcoat, right? The bottom of which dragged on the floor. I had to roll my sleeves up so I could see my hands, right? The hood came down in front of my face with a fur. I looked like the Grim Reaper, like there's this little coat sliding along the ground with nobody in here. So anyway, and of course the teachers weren't any better. The kids were laughing their ass off, used to tease me. The teachers were no better. They would, teacher would be walking across the yard and he'd go, Edwards, come here. Yes, sir. What are you wearing? I'm not sure, sir. Right? You just get ridiculed all the time. So there was a lot of pain there, right? So I had to get out of this pain and I had to find a way to make some money so I could buy my own school clothes, which I did. So clothes became very important to me because they'd been a source of humiliation. And I didn't want anybody to laugh at me for the clothes I wore anymore. So I used to buy these clothes and clothes became important. So I always had the trendiest things, the smartest things, always looked immaculate. Yeah, I know, kind of like now. So anyway, I'm now going forward to where I was at this point. I'm living in a mansion. I'm making millions of dollars a year. I had a closet to die for, right? And as I thought about that, I was thinking, oh no, please no, right? So I go to my closet and same thing. Everything looks perfect, right? Yeah, God for that. I go in the closet, I pull the clothes back, and of course she's cut them all to shreds, right? So now, haven't I told you? Nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Yes, but this was another exception, right? I'm going, what the? I'm so angry, right? I wanted to burn the neighborhood down, right? And so, and I say, look, I never wanted to hurt her, but I did want to kill her, right? And that was one of those times. So I'm ranting and raving and I'm a victim again, right? So just again to reiterate, you're not going to always just say, oh, that's fine. It happened for me. We're all human. We're going to go into victimhood at certain times. What we want to do, though, is spend as little time there as possible and get back to being in our own power, right? Because if you believe something happened to you, someone did something to you, now you have a wound. You got a wound. However, if you come to the realization, see with your real eyes, your feelings, it happened for you. Now you're wiser. Now you don't get resentment. Now you don't carry that anger with you for years and years and years when it's killing you. It's eating at you. It's giving you dis-ease. They don't even know you're angry. They forgot it a long time ago. They're laughing about it. Well, you should be instead of keeping it in the now. But it's okay to initially go through the process, right? It's like grieving, right? You come to an understanding in the end, but you need to go through the process. So I don't know how long it was. It was some time later that I was exhausted with all the anger, right? And so I sort of crashed into the chair, the armchair, looking out of the window overlooking the lake at the back of the house. And I remember this clearly. I was going, okay, this happened for me, huh? Okay, well, let me hear it because this is going to be good. You going, who did you say that to? Myself, right? I talk to myself all the time. And if you watch the last podcast, which you should, right? If you last the last podcast, it's the only person you can talk to anyway, because there's only one of us in the room. Anyway, I'm talking to myself, and you talk to yourself. How do I know? Because you just said, do I talk to myself? See? So anyway, I'm talking to myself, and I'm going, oh, how did this happen? And so it's a process. You got to be committed to the process, because if you're not, you're going to find all kinds of reasons why it didn't happen for you. It definitely happened to you. Finally, I came up with, well, it's just clothes, right? I mean, you can replace clothes. My brain goes, that's bullshit. They were really, really nice clothes, right? So anyway, you just got to keep going. And finally, now this could take days, it could take hours, days, weeks, months. It can even take years, as it does sometimes. And it did for me sometimes. But I finally got it. Attachment. I was attached to those clothes. Now, there's nothing wrong with liking and enjoying nice clothes. I still do, right? However, when you're attached to them, it means they're part of your identity, of who you are, and they're not. But coming to that realization was huge, right? Because then I had to say, what else am I attached to? What else do I need to let go of to remember who I really am, to be who I really am, not some inauthentic person who hides behind clothes, but can be real and authentic, that can be vulnerable. And so it snowballed from there. Here's my point, though. Had I not committed to that belief and being committed to figuring it out, I would still be angry at her to this day, carrying that anger and resentment around, right? I had to let go of it. Now, this happened throughout the whole relationship. Now, I didn't always get it. This has happened 10 years ago, right? So I still get revelations all the time. And now more so because when I finally sat down and wrote the book, it gave me a chance to really reflect on everything that had happened properly, right? As not from a subjective position, but from an objective position, right? So she helped me remember. So when I talked about in the last podcast that as a soul, we come into this life having forgotten who we really are. So we can have experiences that if we remembered who we really are, we couldn't have, because we'd be fully enlightened. And how can you have it? How can you go through what I went through and be fully enlightened? You can't, right? You have to forget. And we go through these waves of remembering more and then forgetting more, remembering more and then forgetting even more. It's a wave. It's not a straight line. It's a spiral, right? We can spiral up and we can spiral down, and we do both. Right? So Tamaz was coming from hurt, from pain, right? from her experiences and patterns that had given the meaning of abandonment such a powerful emotional reaction that she did crazy things. I'm not making it right. I'm just saying there is a reason, right? And she actually had a disease. And that's not a joke, right? And I will explain that more fully in another edition later on in the process. So the bottom line is it all happened for me, not to me. Now, did I forget that? Of course I did, right? Did I constantly want to control situations? Yes, because it was the only time that I thought I was in control when I really wasn't, that I could feel safe, that I wasn't reminded of my childhood when I felt unsafe. Being in control gave the perception, the illusion that I was in control gave me a feeling of safety. But it didn't really, because it made me feel stressed out. What if I lose control? Then I don't have control, and that would stress me out. It's a no-win situation. The only thing you can control, as I said in the last podcast, is your wife. I'm kidding. The only thing you control is yourself or your reaction to what happens, right? So it's not what happens in life, it's how you react. It's the meaning you give to what happens that creates your destiny. Let me give you a quick example here. Nothing to do with the book, but just a story about two young boys who are at home with their father and they're watching a movie, the three of them, right? They're sitting on the floor, sofas behind them. Now, their father is a drug dealer, right? So what happens in the middle of the movie, the front door comes crashing down and the SWAT team comes in, right? Police. With their weapons drawn. Don't move. So the father, in a moment of haste, goes for his gun, which is under one of the cushions on the sofa, along with his stash. And of course, before he got to the cushion, the police shot him to death in front of his two boys. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means whatever you choose it to mean for you. It has no meaning until you give it one. Now, one of the boys chose to give this the meaning that when he grew up, he was going to be a drug dealer, but he was going to be better. He wasn't going to get caught. The other brother decided the meaning was, I'm never going to get involved with drugs. Now, two meanings, one event. But the meanings determine their destiny. One of the brothers spent his life in and out of jail, fighting society, fighting authority, and losing every time. Whereas his other brother decided he was going to be a good citizen, that he was going to grow up and do the right thing, that he was going to be honorable, that he wasn't going to fight authority, and that he was going to live a relatively normal life. So that's what happened, right? One event in the lives of two young men that changed their lives forever because of the meaning they gave it, not necessarily the event itself, right? So meaning is extremely important. And if we give the meaning that life is happening to us, then we're going to be a victim. If we give life the meaning that it's happening for us, now we're wiser, more empowered. We're taking accountability and responsibility for our participation in whatever happens in our life. We're going to look for the silver lining, the opportunity, the growth opportunity. The opportunity to learn more about who we really are and understand the human condition, which gives us empathy, which can lead to compassion. And compassion leads to enlightenment. When we recognize that whatever I do for you, I do for me. But whatever I fail to do for you, I fail to do for me. Why? Because there's only one of us in the room. We all come from the same source and return to the same source. We're not separate from that source. We are a part of that source. And if we're all a part of that source, then we're all connected. That as all the ancients have always said, we are all one. And they all In those ancient paintings, you see them with their finger. We are one. We are from the point of light that began everything, the point of life that suddenly became aware of itself and then expanded one knowing distance from itself and then expanded in the other direction, one knowing distance from itself until it created a sphere. And then it moved to the edge of the sphere and did the same thing, moved one knowing distance beyond there. And now it was creating two circles. And the two circles overlapping created what is called the vesica piscis, which is actually now understood as the womb of life. From one to two. And then did that 5 more times. It moved 6 times in total, creating how many circles? Hi, listen, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're here to make a public service announcement. If you're enjoying this conversation, which I know you are, right? Because if you say no, you probably lie about other things too, right? So if you're enjoying this, which I really do hope that you are, please take a moment to follow or hit the subscribe button and the like button so you never miss an episode. Let's get back to the conversation. 7. But it only moved 6 times. And on the 6th day, he rested. 7 days of creation, 6 days, and on the 7th day, he rested. Now, this is how we're all born into being, because that 6 moves to create 7 circles. Then you should do this on a geometric board, because it creates in the middle a picture which looks like a seed, which is why they call it the seed of life, from which everything is born. Now, and then from the seed of life, it grows into what is called the flower of life. Now, look into this, right? I'm going very, very surface level here, right? And the seed of life, everything in creation is born out of that, right? And then it builds into the fruit of life, the egg of life, the tree of life. All these things that you've heard of as sayings all come from the ancient traditions that understood this is how life is created, how everything in creation is created. Why is that important at all? Because it all starts at one point. At what point? One. Everything is born of the one. The one what? The one point of light. We're all light beings. We're not apart from the light. We're a part of the light. And what is the light? The light is God. God is light. Yeah. And we are born in the lightness of our Creator. What do you call our Creator? God, Bill, Trevor, Sandra. God has no agenda, right? God does have an agenda. So we are born into this existence, this universe, which isn't real, it's an illusion. We create the illusion from light vibrating at different speeds with different levels of mass to create the physical universe. The physical universe is there for us to have experiences in a state of forgetfulness. So remember who we are, to go back to being who we are as though it was the first time, so we can experience the fullness of bliss like we did the first time. But without that contrast, without forgetting who we are, we can't have those experiences. We can't go through that contrast of suffering, of pain, all the spectrum of emotions if we didn't forget. So we're all going through a process of remembrance. Remembering who we really are. And at that point, remember, it all began as a point of life. At that point, we can transcend this illusion. We can transcend the need for war, for hate. So how could you hate yourself? Some people seem to pull it up, but they don't really, right? We got to love each other because we're all the same person. Why would you blow yourself up? I know people do it, but because they think they're going to get 101 virgins. Listen, one woman's enough, guy. That can drive you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But anyway, there won't be any more wars. How cool would that be? Instead of trying to get everybody to put their arms down by saying, listen, we got to be good. Got to take, it's never going to work, right? People have to come to that understanding. If I shoot you, I'm shooting myself. If I blow up your country and you, I'm blowing up me. It's the same thing. Wow, that's intense. I know. But that's what I'm trying to get you to see, that you're going to go through experiences. It's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. But the golden gift is to see yourself in another person or in the situation. Life is a mirror. You're not a victim unless you want to be. If that's the path you choose, that's the path you choose, and you'll be a victim for as long as you choose to be. But it is a choice, right? Now, for some people, there's all kinds of addictions. You can become addicted to being a victim because it maybe maybe you think it's getting you what you want, even though it actually isn't. You might think, well, by being a victim, everybody gives me sympathy. Everybody gives me what I want, but you don't feel good about it. You're never going to feel good about that. So you don't feel good about being a victim. Even if you don't put that label, right? But some people then become afraid of being who they really are, of stepping into their power. That's scary. What if I can't keep it up? What if it doesn't work? It's easier to live with the devil I know than the devil I don't. But again, those are all choices. So you got to make the conscious choice to say, I got to look at how I can heal this shit, right? How I can get past these patterns that I very likely picked up when I was a child, when all I was trying to do was protect myself. And all I've been doing since is trying to protect myself, to keep me safe. But what I've been doing is building these walls to do that. But these walls have not kept me safe. They've imprisoned me. They've made me feel alone. Even if I'm in a room of 1,000 people, I feel alone because no one knows me. And I'm afraid to let them know who I really am, because if I do, they might judge me. They may not like me. They may reject me. They might not love me. So keep it a secret. Don't tell anybody. You know what I mean? Ha! Got that down. Here's the problem, though. You can never be fully who you are. You can only live a fraction of your potential. But once you bring all that up, once you share it, which means becoming vulnerable, now it's a power. Because nobody can say anything about you that you haven't already said, or that your people who love you already know. You don't have to tell everybody, right? But you never have to worry about the people you love finding out, the people who will support you no matter what. And you will know whether they will or they won't, because when you tell them, they either will accept you for who you are or not. And if they don't, then they were never someone who loved you. They were someone who never loved you for who you are. They loved you because of who you made them believe you were. What did I say? We live in a world of make-believe. And we really want to live a life of truth, honesty, integrity, and vulnerability, as well as authenticity. Right? But you can't do that unless you're honest, unless you spill the beans. Not to everybody. But here, listen, people think that intimacy is something you find in the bedroom. It isn't. It isn't. Intimacy is created by trust. So when you share your deepest, darkest thoughts with someone you love, now, could they use it against you? 100%. Of course they could. But someone who would do that, is that someone who really loves you? Is that someone you want to spend the rest of your life with? No. So if they do that, then you know that's not the right person for you. But if you trust in them and they're worthy of your trust, I'm not saying, tell them that on the first date, that'll freak them out, right? But when you can share that with the person you love and they hold that trust, now you have intimacy. You see, you have that level of trust that no matter what you do in the bedroom, you know they're going to accept you, they're not going to judge you. going to love you anyway, no matter what. And you for them, and vice versa, right? Now, that's intimacy. That's when you can be real. That's when you can act out your fantasies and not be worried if other people are going to know. That's beautiful, right? And that will flourish into love and a loyalty that you'll never ever find anywhere else. But you got to be prepared to take that leap of faith, right? And you're going to know when the right time is, right? When you're in love fully, not after a week, right? Not after the first date, because that's not love. That's lust, right? It's desire. Nothing wrong with that, but recognize it for what it is. You know, when you first meet someone, you're not meeting that person who you're meeting. You're meeting their representative, right? Who is going to show you the best side of them. There's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to accept that there's more to them than the superficial side that they want you to see at the beginning. You've got to give it some time, just like I didn't. Right? I was not good at that. I wanted her when? Now, right? And I paid a price. But I also gained a tremendous wealth of awareness about who I really am. So either way, you're going to learn, right? The point is you got to be authentic. And it's very difficult not to be authentic when you're drawn into the nectar of the Venus flytrap, where you've got those wounds, you've got those patterns. There are going to be the people that come into your life are going to reflect that back, and they're going to draw you into relationships because that's what you need. And you can say, you know, you come out of a Venus flytrap relationship and you go, I'm not going to be in a relationship for 6 months. I'm not going to date. And you don't. And then after 6 months, you go, I think I'm healed. And you start dating again. And what do you find? You find the same person in a different body. And you're going, how can I possibly pull that out? How can I possibly pull that off? And the right question is, how could you not? It would be impossible for you not to attract the same energy into your life again, because you are transmitting the same energy into the world, and the person that matches it is going to come into your life. They may look different, they may have a different body, but it's the same energy. Very interesting, Stephen. Very interesting. I thought so too. All right, so what do I have for you today in terms of soul tree? Oh, well, what's just popped out here? As always, the perfect soul tree. Okay, now this one is, you got to imagine that this is the God, the big boss, whatever her name, no gender, right? Whoever that is, right? Maybe you. Communicating directly with you. So I have also this belief based on my experiences, which if I told you them, you would not believe. And I don't mean that you wouldn't believe someone could go through that, but you wouldn't believe that someone could necessarily have a conversation directly with God, because it's just something we're taught has never happened. You don't have to believe that. And even if I told you the story, you still wouldn't believe me, and neither should you, right? Because you should have your own, right? You can't explain God, right? So you can't explain your experience of God. It's uniquely yours. But I want you to imagine that God is speaking to you in this piece of soul tree, right? Whether he is or she is or it is or it doesn't matter. Just imagine it, right? So take a deep breath. Let it out through your heart. Another deep breath in. Gently close your eyes. Let that breath out of your heart. And this piece of soul tree is called I am the sand. Bring me a soldier that has died for a cause. He will live again in the golden moors. Flying and flashing without a care, he's been to the mansion that brought him there. Calling out now from heaven to earth, telling you what you are really worth. More than the heavens that call out to you, more than the universe can explain or do. You are all the center of it all. The universe waits at your beck and call. Falling to earth was your given choice. You have always had a powerful voice. Just call out to me for all that is yours. I am ready to open all of heaven's doors. So come back to me and hold my hand. Together forever we will always stand. I have always been at your command. In the glass you drink, I am the sand. Take a deep breath in. Let it out. Gently open your eyes and just soak that in. Now, how quick does time fly? Depends, right? If you enjoyed that, which I know you did, right? If you didn't, keep it to yourself. If you did, put it in the comments below. If it created some questions for you where you're going, I don't get that, Stephen. I'm not sure that really works. Great. Because what did I say at the beginning? I don't know. I forgot. But let me say it now. The truth is not afraid to be questioned. In fact, the truth wants you to question it. Why? Because the truth has nothing to fear, because it's the truth. And the truth cannot be destroyed. It's like energy, right? Only things that are not true or afraid to be questioned that are not true would be afraid to be questioned. Keep that in mind. Now, don't forget to smash the like button. Is that the right way to say it? Smash it. I don't want you to smash it. Just maybe, click it. And then make sure you subscribe. How do you know if you've subscribed? Because it'll either say subscribe or subscribed. If it says subscribed, you're already you know what I mean? Yeah, you get it. And then make sure you check in the notes because there's a link to the first 3 chapters of book 1 for free. I mean, of course, you probably read it, right? Right? Get the first 3 chapters if you haven't got the book, because you will get the book. It's amazing. What is it? Amazing, right? It didn't come from me. It came through me. It came from my experiences that were given to me by the highest power on earth, and her name is Tamaz. All right, so that's the book side. Make sure you keep tuning into the podcast. Make sure you subscribe. There's a free, I always say free and complimentary. It's one or the other. It's a complimentary session with me. If you've got some things that you feel that you'd like to work on and you'd like to see if I might be the person that could help you with that, let's have a chat. Let's see. And you'll know before the end of that conversation whether I'm the right person for you or not. And what else? I think that's about it, really. Let's go of attachment to each other right now. Just remember, nothing happens to you. Everything happens for
you. Let's go. Spiritual sparkle in a world of gray, finding the truth in the disarray. It's a raw confession of a life lived fast, breaking the chains of a heavy past, from the erotic spirit to the soul's rebirth, finding what a human life is really worth. Sex, lies, and repercussions stay as we dance the final act away. Just a true story of a love so deep, promises that we could never keep. In the garden of the trap we lay, waiting for the break of a breath.